Look at the edge of this knife right here at the tip.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a dip right here.
Oh yeah.
It like comes out.
Today I'm with Tyrell Griner, relation of some kind through marriage.
Yep.
So Tyrell's hobby is sharpening knives.
You bet.
And he's good at it, and I know from experience. So let's get started with dart talk. All right, Tyrell, you can grab a dart, and the idea is to hopefully not hit the bullseye because I don't want to pay you.
I wouldn't count on it.
$60 for the black bullseye and $20 for the yellow bullseye. So
All right.
take your shot. All right,
Nope.
4. Okay, now Tyrell's not a hunter, and that's okay.
Yeah.
At least not that I'm aware of.
No,
right?
I'm not a hunter.
So instead, I kind of switched dart talk a little bit. So Tyrell was out in Wyoming as a trail guide, correct?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the organization you were with and kind of what took you out there.
Yeah. So I was the organization is called SRAM, Solid Rock Outdoor Ministries. I was introduced to them by a family friend who's been working with them for a number of years. Yeah, basically they just do a bunch of backpacking trips over the summer months, and just take kids anywhere from 10 years old up to adults, as old as can hike. But yeah, so
how long were you out there?
I was out there for about 3 months last summer. Yeah.
And how long were like the hikes that you were guiding the hikes, right?
Yeah.
How long were those hikes?
The trips usually around 7 to 10 days is the most common length. Some of them are 20 days, or the longest one's 40 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So it gets pretty long.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how many people would you be in charge of, basically? Is there other people with you? Like guides?
So usually there's 2 guides on every course, and then students usually on the larger trips it's usually around 10 students for 2 instructors, and then on the smaller courses it could be like 3 to 5, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Is that where your knife sharpening hobby came from, or was it not from that experience?
No, not really. It was just I'd say the sharpening came after the knives.
Okay.
So yeah, just as growing up, working on a farm and stuff, I just had a pocket knife on me at all times, pretty much, and kind of had to. They got dull after a while, and so you got to sharpen them, and then kind of just took it from there.
Yeah, it went crazy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's dive into what you're doing here a little bit.
All right.
What is this thing that you have in front of you?
Yeah, so this is a Wicked Edge sharpener, sharpening system actually. So yeah, you got the main base plate and the clamp where you can clamp your blade in, and then you have different varying coarsenesses of diamond stones here. Coarse goes from 100 grit all the way up to 1,000 grit on the stones, and then you have some leather strops to finish it off.
Yeah, so get started there.
Right.
That's one of my knives there that I wanted him to sharpen for me. He sharpened both of my hunting knives already, one of these being my hunting buck knife that I use when I gut deer. Actually more skin deer, I should say. I don't really use that one to gut them, mainly because it's a huge knife, but I like it for skinning deer. And then I have this smaller one that I use actually mainly to gut the deer, just because it's a little smaller. And I was super impressed. I shot me and my brother shot some ducks this year, and I de-breasted those things, and I gotta tell you, it was amazing that, like, when I was doing that, I didn't have to like force my knife down beside the meat at all. It just like, you just slide it and it just like goes right through. So I was impressed. That was pretty sweet, I gotta admit, because I can't say I've ever had a real sharp knife.
Yeah.
Other than like the cheap pull through ones. Now, Tyrell, you probably know what's the difference in how they sharpen and like what's the difference between this and a cheap pull through one?
Yeah, so those cheap pull through ones you get have generally they have like two wheels that like overlap and create like the groove in the middle. When you pull it through, it's basically just shaving the metal off the edge, and it doesn't create it's very harsh, and so it just creates like a really ragged and kind of bird edge.
Okay.
And that kind of edge, it will feel sharp because it's like grabby. It's really like rough, and it'll feel like when you bring it through paper or you try to cut something with it, it'll cut. It'll feel sharp because it's got like, kind of like a saw blade on there.
Yeah.
But then as soon as those burrs kind of break off, then it gets dull really fast.
Gotcha.
And also, it's just shaving metal off your knife blade, and it's gonna wear it down a lot faster.
Gotcha. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
So as opposed to this, how does this system work? That would be better.
Yeah. So these are diamond stones, and so basically they're really sharp, or at a microscopic level they're super sharp, and so they take the metal off with a cleaner cut than like say those carbide burrs. And so it gets the edge when you're done is like super fine and clean, and also because they're so sharp, it doesn't need to take as much metal off. You don't need to push hard on the metal to get the blade sharp.
Right.
You can just kind of go at it and just kind of let the weight of it cut into the metal, and it just kind of does its thing.
Yeah. So right now you're on your second.
Yeah.
Stone? Yeah. So he started a little early because we want to make sure we fit it into the episode and didn't keep you here forever. So he's on his second stone right now, and he's working through 4 stones. 3 stones?
Yeah. Well, there's 2 sides on each stone.
Okay.
They 2 different coarsenesses, but
Okay,
yeah.
so you got actually like 8 different grits there. You're saying as stone.
Yeah. There is. There's this one here, which is 100 to 200, and you just flip it over.
Gotcha,
So there's 2 of each color. And this one's 400 to 600.
Yep. Gotcha.
And then the ones I have here, 800 to 1,000.
Yep.
And then
Nice.
these are the leather strops. So.
Right, and you'll get to those.
Yeah, we will. We will.
Awesome. Okay, you said one question is how did you get into knife sharpening? I guess you said a little bit.
Yeah.
Was there like that one moment where you're like I can't handle not having a sharp knife? Like, was there that obsession moment or not really?
I wouldn't say there was a moment like that. It was like, I mean, probably. So my dad had a sharpener, kind of similar to this one, but like a lot cheaper and like less precise.
Okay.
And I probably when I got old enough to use it, so I don't know, like 10 or 12, something like that, is kind of when I started sharpening my own knives. And then once I got a job and got my own money, and I was like, looking around, see, find something a little nicer.
Yep.
And so that's probably around the time frame that I got into it more of as a hobby.
Right. And once you had that sharp knife for the first time, there was no going back.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm pretty solid for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. How does the angle at which you're doing what you're doing like right now, how does that affect the sharpness of the blade?
So you can make a sharp knife with a really like not a sharp angle, like super shallow angle, and the edge can be just as sharp, but if you try and cut something with that angle, you're gonna run into a lot of resistance.
Yeah.
Because the metal alongside of the edge is getting in the way. So the sharper the angle is, the more like slicey it feels. There is a balance between having a durable edge and a sharp edge. You can make a knife like really narrow edge and it's gonna be so sharp, but it's gonna bend over or get dull as soon as you cut a piece of paper with it. So you have to kind of find the balance between having a knife that cuts really good and having one that has a durable edge that's not going to get dull immediately.
So how do you find that edge? Like, is there a specific way that you found one that works, or just kind of what other people have said?
The general Yeah, I mean it kind of varies depending on like the blade steel that your knife has, but generally like 17 degrees is a pretty good angle.
Okay.
And it kind of varies, but 17, 18, somewhere in there
Okay.
is kind of what I found to be a good angle for durability and
Right.
sharpness.
So do some knives like our fillet knives different than like a meat cleaver? Like, do they sharpen those at different angles because
Oh
of what they're
yeah,
doing?
definitely. Yeah, so something like a meat cleaver, you're gonna be maybe hitting into some bones or like getting in like you're really slamming that thing into your board or whatever you're using to cut up the meat. So you want, like I said, a more like a shallower angle on that
A
knife.
blunt.
Yeah, a little more blunt because you're not really trying to slice fine meat with that cleaver. You're just going at it. So you're gonna have a blunter edge on there that's gonna be durable and hold up
Gotcha.
to a little bit of bone or your wooden cutting board, whatever you
Right.
get into.
Yeah. And then opposite with like a
Exactly, a
fillet
fillet knife. You're not running that into anything hard like bone, or you're probably trying not to. Just slicing the soft tissue so you can make that edge a lot finer, and so you don't have to put as much force into your cut. Yeah.
That's interesting. I would have never known that. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
when I pick up like a fillet knife, it's like, oh, you always got to be careful with fillet
Yep,
knives 'cause
super
they're
sharp.
But that's probably why.
Yeah.
More or less.
It's made to cut flesh, cut meat.
You were talking about the steel, like what kind of steel the actual blade is.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, what's the best material for a knife? Like whether it's steel or I know they make ceramic type knives like for a kitchen and stuff. What's your opinion? Maybe you don't really have an opinion.
Yeah, I'm not super educated on all the different kinds of steel, but yeah, it really varies on the application. I mean, ceramic isn't that great. Like, it's like super hard. It's like harder than steel or harder than, glass or whatever. So it's like super sharp when you get it, but you can't sharpen them really because they're harder than any ceramic is harder than pretty much anything you're gonna sharpen it with.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I mean, yeah, you could probably use like carbide or diamond stones to sharpen them. I've actually never tried to sharpen a ceramic one.
Okay.
But they're not.
You don't have much
you don't
experience
see
with
them
it.
everywhere for a reason.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, carbon steel. There's lots of different kinds of carbon steels. S30V or S35VN are two really popular ones that are. It's a proprietary like mix of steel kind of that was developed by Chris Reeve, who's a pretty famous knife maker.
Gotcha.
But it's it's a really incredible blend of different. It's an alloy basically that maintains a good edge, gets really sharp, and is durable as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's like manufactured to be the best possible knife blade.
Exactly. And there's actually a relatively new type of steel called Magna Cut. That's kind of overthrowing those steels as like the best. Magna Cut is. I haven't really had any experience with it, but it's pretty much taking over as like the best like knife steel.
Okay.
From what I've heard, anyway.
Maybe I'll have to get me one of them someday.
Yeah, exactly.
So explain to us what this portion of it is basically after you go through your stones. What are the purpose of these?
Yeah, so a strop is just a piece of leather. Usually it's leather. It could be any type of material, but it has a compound on it that's like abrasive compound, like super fine abrasives. Like these are 5 micron and 3.5 micron.
It's like
abrasives. Yeah, exactly. No, it's really like polishing abrasive.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it's like so fine that you can't like see the abrasions. But yeah, so these are basically for it's gonna polish the blade, give it a nice finish, but also it's gonna like you're polishing the edge, so it's gonna make that edge even finer on the cutting edge and make it even more like slicey. The strop is the difference between you know, cutting through a piece of paper and just like the blade gliding through it.
Mm.
That's the strop. That's making the difference.
It's just that last little extra step
Yep.
that like.
It's amazing how much of a difference you can get just with the strop. And actually, when I strop using this system, it's actually, I have found you get much better results if you widen the angle by 1 degree. Oh, actually, sorry. You close the angle by 1 degree.
Okay.
When you do the strop.
So how did you figure that out? Was that?
Well, I heard someone else mention it.
Okay.
I think on a YouTube video or something. They said that it works better that way for them. So I was like, oh, I'll try that. And it actually it works a lot better for some reason. I'm not sure on exactly why. I think because the leather's soft, when you press it onto the blade, it could like flex over the top of the edge and maybe kind of round the edge off on the top. So when you bring that angle down, it gets more
doesn't do that.
Doesn't do that as much, and it gets it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Good. I'll fire away a couple more questions for you. Can you remove gouges and dents in like a blade? Like, I guess it probably depends on how deep.
It does depend. Yeah, it does depend on how deep the nick is. If it's like a pretty small nick, it's not too hard to get out. But basically, if you want your edge to stay straight, you're gonna have to take the whole blade down to however deep that nick is, plus some, because you have to get down to good steel again. So if it's too deep, it can be really difficult or impossible to get rid of it.
Right. Basically, you have to take that knife down, like you said, below where it would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
How deep the nick is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So it is possible to take the easier ones out.
Yep. Yep.
Can you over sharpen a knife?
Over sharpen. No, not really. I would say it depends on what you're using the knife for. Like a cleaver, to take our earlier example, you could, if you make the angle too fine, I guess you could call that over sharpening it.
Yeah.
But if you got the angle set correctly for the use of the knife, I mean, you can sharpen that as long as you want, and you're not gonna have anything.
So you're saying you can't really over sharpen a knife as long as it's at the intended
You can
purpose.
sharpen it wrong, but you can't
exactly,
over sharpen it.
You can do it wrong, but you can't over sharpen it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Is the knife good?
Yes, it is nice.
So how do you know like that the knife is then sharp?
Well, one way you can tell is if you get a flashlight and you shine it, or if you're just under a strong light and you shine it straight down on the edge, if you can't see any reflections off the edge of the blade, you know that's pretty sharp. But if you can see a reflection coming off like the edge of the blade, then that means there's like a flat spot.
Okay.
Where the light can reflect straight up at you again. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you can't really see any reflections, then you know it's pretty sharp. I can see there's like 1 or 2 spots here that didn't quite get really sharp, but it looks pretty good to me.
So you just got to touch them up a little bit, and then they're pretty much good to
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
So yeah, if you look at your knife, take your flashlight over it, and you see the reflection, then you know you need it.
Yeah.
Need it sharpened.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you need it sharpened, you know the man to do it.
Yeah.
TyrellGriner@gmail.com. Give him a shout.
Yeah, let me know if you need it done and if you're in the area, and we'll see if we can get you hooked up.
Yep. What's your price to do a knife like this?
Probably about $10 a knife is what I would say.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's about what I would charge for a knife.
We're related, and that's the same price he gave me.
So. Yeah.
There's no special prices here.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. And yeah, like I said, TyrellGriner@gmail.com. I'll have it in the description there.
Yeah.
Send him an email if you're looking to get your knife sharpened.
I can actually do a little bit of a sharpness test here.
Yep.
A good way to test if a knife is sharp, you can use paper. That works fine.
Like,
but if you want a just printer paper, whatever, that works fine. But if you want a real test, use newspaper, because it's a lot thinner and more floppy.
Mm-hmm.
So if your knife can cut through newspaper really easily, then it's like extra sharp. So
Then you know you've got it.
Yeah, I'll see if I can embarrass
Let's see
myself
how it
here.
did. Nice.
It's a
Nice.
little rough there, but yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so that's kind of.
You can see that it slides through.
Yeah.
Let's you said which one's your dullest knife probably?
Oh, the dullest one?
Yeah.
Probably this one, I'm guessing.
Okay, let's
So-
see if we can see the difference.
See if it'll even. Yeah. You can get it started if you like start close to your fingers, but then as soon as you kind of get away.
And there's a difference, like I can see it, you probably can't see it, but like it's more ripping the paper rather than actually cutting it. Like the cut is like furry.
Jagged.
Right, yeah. Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, so it's definitely
Yeah. Good.
test.
That's pretty sweet, Tyrell.
Yeah, it's fun.
So what is something like that unit run to purchase? I
yeah.
think you went in with somebody else, is that correct on that
Yeah,
one?
me and a friend actually bought this one together.
That shows you the price.
Yeah. I think this model goes for around 600 new. Yeah, you can always get more stones or strops or stuff like that to upgrade it, or you can get less if you want it a little cheaper. They also make some different models that are cheaper as well. But yeah, it's you pay for what you get. You get a really sharp knife if you use a good system like this.
Yep. And it's worth it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Finishing up with our Bible verse today, Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. And I just thought this was like the perfect time for that verse, definitely. And I thought it was interesting, like if you kind of correlate whether it's two guys like us just keeping each other accountable in whatever aspects of your life, it's kind of like the same thing as this sharpener and the knife. Like when you keep somebody accountable, you just keep sharpening, keep somebody accountable, keep them nice and sharp.
Yeah.
Otherwise you get dull, like some of his knives here.
Yeah.
They've just been through the mill.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it was fitting for this episode
definitely.
for sure.
Great verse. Thank you.
Yeah. That's everything we got for today. Thanks for watching, and contact Tyrell if you're looking for a sharp knife. We'll catch you later.